So we are, I hope, live. Just quick check that we are audible and visible to everyone. So today we are hosting this session with the leadership team of Medibuddy. We have Enba Shekhar with us, who is the Chief Technology Officer, Rupesh and Rag, who are both very senior leaders from the Medibuddy team. Medibuddy definitely is India's largest and most trusted digital healthcare platform. During last few years, while of course medical assistance is something that sooner or later, either for inpatient, outpatient, we always use. Of course, in last 2 years, there have been, like, we always relied much more on healthcare than probably earlier years. And Medibuddy is trying to fix our entire healthcare journey through a very innovative tech first platform. uh, if I'm not wrong, of course, and by others, please correct me. Medibuddy has raised close to $200 million in funding. Probably has one of the strongest uh, team. I will maybe do a quick introduction for our leadership team of Medibuddy here today. So Enba, who is the CTO and co-founder, is an alumnus of IIT Madras. Uh, Better usability of healthcare services for the users, uh, and by in your words, that is what your goal is.
Yeah.
uh, Rupesh is head of engineering at Medibuddy, an alumnus of IIM Bangalore and IIT Kharagpur. Rupesh comes with 20 years of experience building very large scale distributed systems. uh, and Anurag here is senior director platforms with, again, 21 years of experience in product development and leadership. And of course, Rupesh, who have set up many large scale tech teams in the past. So this is a quick introduction. We will maybe today we will be talking about a lot of interesting things that Medibuddy doing with technology, right? Often, there is so much high quality work and so much high impact work that gets done in these I think the forerunners in the tech startups of India. And I think it's important that the entire tech community gets to learn firsthand from the leaders that how technology is creating so much impact in the lives of all of us. uh, so maybe I can start with a quick question, and Anba, Rupesh, Anurag, any of you can take this. Um and this probably goes, maybe Anba, you might be best suited for this. Tell us a little bit about the journey of Medibuddy. How did it start? What was, as a co-founder, uh, what motivated you to kind of take such a high risk, start a company? What your long term vision for the company is?
Sure. Hey, thanks Abhimanyu for the kind introduction and hi everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on a Sunday for this webinar. Very glad to interact with all of you. I'm Inba Shekhar. I'm the CTO and co-founder here at Medibuddy. And like Abhimanyu introduced, I graduated from IIT Madras. And me and my co-founder and CEO, his name is Satish. Satish and me, we were both classmates from campus, right? And long time back when we were in campus. We used to do a lot of projects together, and that's how we got introduced to the healthcare space. We used to do a bunch of projects, year-long projects with software, electronics, and working with doctors to build medical solutions. And that's how our journey began. So whenever we go meet a doctor, this was about 10 years back when we were in campuses. But whenever we want to go and visit a doctor, there's always a queue of patients outside their clinic, right? And when we call ahead of time and then check in, the nursing staff or the receptionist would say, hey, doctor will be here at 7 p.m, so why don't you come over? But when we go there, almost always the doctors are late, right? They're busy running between hospitals or different locations, taking care of patients, so almost always they're late. And always patients have been waiting for hours together for the 5-minute conversation with the doctor, because and it's not just the patient, right? Usually they are accompanied by the family member or a caretaker also. And we were very intrigued as students at that time, right? Even in campuses, we used to chat in Google Talk. At that time it had just become popular. WhatsApp was still not there at that time. And even for calling friends for, hey, let's go for lunch together in the hostel mess, we used to chat in the widget, and that's how we used to get started. So communication was getting easier in the more convenient in the tech world. But for doctors and patients, that wasn't the case, right? And what could be a 2-minute, 5-minute phone call or a chat conversation ends up being several hours wasted waiting, especially when somebody is unwell. You would rather rest than travel in traffic and wait in a clinic. So that became the trigger point for us to see, hey, how can a simple tech solve something, a very a basic need as healthcare. And of course, it was long before the pandemic, or where teleconsultations, all this became popular. So that's how our journey began, right? With a small team, humble beginnings, trying to figure out what works. And as technologists, we always are keen on building cool tech. But it's equally important that we early on we learned that it's important to understand the problem space, and adoption of the cool tech is also equally important. Otherwise, it doesn't scale and help the millions of people that we aspired to do when we started. So that was a journey. But the power of software is that you can iterate, right? You can iterate fast, you can learn from your successes and mistakes. And we grew from helping few patients a day, few doctors onboarded, giving online consultations in some of the departments, to eventually helping thousands of patients every single day. And initially everybody was skeptical about, hey, how will this work? Will online for health doesn't make sense. It's not like a ticket or something that you're booking online, but how can a consultation happen online? We were equally, of course, skeptical. But our data and the experience of building and what is happening on our platform was proving us right consistently, that hey, there is large set of problems that can be solved online. And we had folks calling in for serious ailments as second opinions, people who were talking to doctors for privacy related reasons, people who have mental health or personal issues which they don't want their family even to know, were chatting online comfortably in the middle of the night, early in the mornings. Usually if you see, hospitals or clinics are crowded in the evenings or weekends, but whereas we were getting traffic round the clock from 7 a.m. in the morning till 12 midnight, which means we are effectively able to use both doctors time, and people were don't have to wait or plan a doctor's visit, right? It's just instantaneous. Within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they were able to reach out to doctors. So that journey, that was the initial days of the journey. And today, of course, we've grown to be one of the leading digital healthcare platforms in the country. And we have recently closed our series C round of funding as well. But more importantly, we've reached a scale where we're helping more than 35,000 plus customers every single day with either a consultation or a lab test or a medicine need for them service through our platform. We have host of other healthcare services as well, right? The vision, but when we started to know, has always been consistent. But although we may have added more services, is always been to make high quality healthcare accessible to a billion people. And that's the journey we believe we are on. And with a larger team and a larger goal and bigger war chest, we are very, very excited about what we have in store in front of us.
Right. Thank you so much, Anba, for sharing this. I have maybe just kind of one question, but broken down into three parts to kind of help us visualize your scale of the journey, right? Uh, I think it's been almost 10 years since you all have been consistently at solving this very important problem of improving healthcare in India, right? Uh, Almost a decade of hard work. I'm sure a lot of insights generated in this period. What so the three parts of the question, tell us about what the your first office was like when you all started, I think in 2013 or so. What that office was like.
Sure. In fact, some of the earliest people who had joined us are still with us, of course, with much more senior roles. Many of them
Right.
joined us as fresh out of college.
Right.
Some of them were from my same campus. Some of them we had hired through referrals and so on. So the initial
Right.
team of four or five, in fact, much before we started up, we in fact launched the product in 2015. For the initial 2 years, we were working with few interns from campuses. It used to be in the labs of the college campus, right? We used to be borrowing the meeting rooms or conference rooms. Those were the initial offices. But once we had set up the company and got some momentum going, probably the earliest office was a shared co-working space in our IIT campus, which had an incubation cell set up. And so we were like four members. We used to get four seats, and if somebody else is not sitting in the fifth seat, we will take that as well. And late nights when nobody's around in the place, you could do a lot more work since your entire space can be yours. And post that this was in Chennai. And as we were scaling, we wanted to move to Bangalore. So our first Bangalore office used to seat about 10 people, 15 people. and today we are glad that we are offices in 20 plus cities.
Wow.
But those were also interesting times, like only four of us, five of us, or 10 of us going for lunches together, dinners together, breakfast together. And those are the initial beginning time where you're trying to figure out product. There's a lot of building, a lot of um, iterations. We didn't know what's going to work, what doesn't work. But
Right.
glad that we could take this journey over the last 6 7 years.
Right.
The fact that we're able to help a lot more people every single day, and
Right.
especially during times like pandemic, we were able to help people with their COVID tests, COVID vaccinations, home health, home quarantine needs. And the vision, although it was not thinking of pandemic in mind, but we were
Right.
generally seeing good traction for remote care.
Right.
But it became a real need, and we were able to help a lot more during the times of need.
Right. I think it's one of the biggest testimonial. While before I get to my second part of the question, one thing that you mentioned, that a lot of people who joined long back, maybe in the very beginning of the company, still being there leading the projects. I think that's the biggest testimony to, I think, the overall culture of the team. The mission driven nature of the company. Because of course, otherwise, in today's environment, of course, having people where people are happy even if someone just stays back for a couple of years, having entire leadership made of people who have spent so many years at the same organization speaks a lot. So while everyone can talk about that we have great culture, this is, I think, visible in action as outcome, that if people are spending, best people in the industries, if they have been at it for so long, definitely you all have built a great culture at the company. uh, the second part that I wanted to come to, which you in part covered already, is that where like in kind of simpler things, of course there's valuation, there's fundraisers, there's user growth, etc. uh, but if we just talk about how big is the team today, all right, how many people do you have? You mentioned that you have offices in 20 cities now. So while of course we always work as a startup with that mindset, but I'm sure it's startup kind of gives an image that it's a small company, right?
Right, right.
But I'm sure Medibuddy has grown, a lot more. So tell us, a little bit about what the company looks like today.
Sure. We are about like 1,800 plus people, and we have grown almost doubled in the last year or so, from probably around 900 odd
Right.
people.
Right.
Particularly the product and engineering teams, we call it technology teams at Medibuddy, are around 160 now. And again, this team we have scaled up over the last year or so, almost doubled there as well, with also eminent leaders like Rupesh and Anurag joining us with the experience needed for us to scale even further from where we are, right? So that's the scale in terms of what we operate. But very right point about, hey, how do you continue to stay as a startup with a large workforce organization?
Right.
We still believe there is a lot of strength in small teams. So that's the way we are structured in our engineering, product, and even other functions, right? Be it operations or other teams, as small pods. So pods are typically behave like a mini startup within our bigger startup.
Right.
And so hence it enables team to be very very fast paced, being able to iterate faster. Teams, a multifunctional team that sits together, which means product teams, engineering teams, operations teams, business leaders, marketing team, they work as one cohort and one group of team, and they ideally sit together, have their food together, and share their fun time together and hard times together as well in terms of problem solving. And so that way we so although we are about 160, there's about 16 different pods, which means no pod is probably, or 20 different pods in fact. So no pod is probably more than 8 people or 10 people. And
Right.
which means that the team is very close to the customers, and you are able to ship fast, so that
Right.
you get real time feedback on what you thought is going to work is really working or not, and keep learning. So that way
Right.
our teams continue to stay relevant,
Right.
and gets all the experiences that you typically expect in a
Right.
small scale startup, a 0 to 1 kind of a startup. Another point of view is, although we are a large org, we, because in healthcare there are multiple services, each service is unique in its own way. For example, the online consultations we do, the tech stacks that we have to build and solve is similar to what a WhatsApp is solving or a Zoom is solving, etc., right? To do video calls, to do chat. So that's a broad problem statement in itself. while simultaneously we also have to solve problems in lab tests we do at home as well at a diagnostic center. So the diagnostic center behaves like movie ticket booking, right? Like, so you schedule for a particular date time slot. When you go there, you get your QR scan, so that you know that the person has visited. And the overall experience, the UX, the underlying tech stack, the databases, architectures, optimizations are all around those kind of problem statements. And let's say in lab test at home, it behaves like a food delivery sort of ecosystem, like just like how you are hungry when you are waiting for your food, so you keep tracking where the delivery boy is. In this case, it's typically early morning, you're taking a fasting blood test, right? And you don't want to keep fasting, and you don't know where your lab technician is. So we're building tech stacks, borrowing from problem statements very similar to what you would see in a food delivery space. And third big piece that we do is on pharmacy. And in
Mhm.
pharmacy delivery, it behaves very similar to any e-commerce platform would. So hence, which means you have to solve inventory, warehousing, stocking, ETAs, delivery. How do you manage a fleet of delivery boys and so on? So the fact that we have to build, so, and there are many more, right? Like
Right.
vaccinations work like a event booking,
Right.
where large number of people come in, and then you have to vaccinate everybody in a camp kind of a scenario. Again, the tech we had to build was very different from what we had built so far. So this scope of challenges, almost every problem in the tech and industry, we had to imbibe into what we build it in a rapid pace, because healthcare needs all of these pieces, right? Like, it cannot be only one part of it for somebody's health to get better. um, they need to talk to a doctor, take the medicine that the doctor gives, take the diagnostic tests to confirm the diagnosis, and probably even do procedures and surgeries and so on, if the problem requires more serious
Right.
attention at a hospital. So the entire healthcare journey, in all forms and factors, is what we are solving, which comes with its complexity challenges. Therefore, all these teams work on solving each of these large problems. Each
Right.
problem, it's a company of its own, in
Right.
in most respects, outside. So that's also an added advantage, or a challenge, I would say, at
Right.
Medibuddy.
Fascinating, fascinating, Inba. So of course, it's very interesting that as an engineer at Medibuddy, probably someone has an opportunity to build something as challenging as WhatsApp, to as challenging as Zoom, to
Yes.
Amazon, to maybe an event platform. And so I can imagine that the kind of opportunities that it exposes all the engineers and the engineering leadership to. I'll maybe just build on this and ask one more thing, that generally the problems, and even as engineers I have seen, generally people fall in two kind of buckets. People who are very highly driven by the impact or outcome that whatever they build creates on the users, whoever is using it, right? And of course then there is one set of people who are maybe very complex problem solvers, who are more motivated and driven by let's say maybe figuring out some technical breakthrough, or figuring out some new kind of technical system, which might probably just might be a big breakthrough, maybe a patent, or something which changes the entire industry, right? Maybe if you can give us maybe one thing in each category that Medibuddy might be doing, something which created massive impact, some project, or and something maybe which is a very deep tech problem, or something which is very fascinating piece of technology that has been built at Rupesh. Maybe I would invite you to maybe take this.
Sure, Emmanuel. So the two type of problem that you talked about, I think both of them are equally important, and we want people who are really obsessed with the customers and who want to see the impact that their solutions are making, and that is one really key value that we look for in every person who joins the organization, and maybe we'll later talk about the cultural values. So
Right.
this becomes very important that every pod that we have that really believes in these values, and every member of the pod, they believe in these values, and they live by it. So it becomes very important that we look at everything from the customer lens and how exactly the customer will use this, and they would and people would want to build a solution that will make a greater impact. And whether it is let's say the doctor consultation, I mean, all of us in the organization, we use the app ourselves as well, and we see how these applications are being used, how is the experience, whether it is the doctor consultation, whether it is the labs, whether it is medicine or any other service that we offer. And we see how, as an end user, how I will use this and how we can make this experience better and better. And there, as Anba said, each of the problem statements are really really unique problem statements, and we have to go and solve a lot of complex problems in that area. And medicine, for example, I mean, it's a large complex problem, because now we are a marketplace. We have to really take care of the inventory and availability, and across all the players, and choose which one is the right partner to use and place the order there, and then provide the ETA for that. So it becomes a really complicated problem, and we have to see from the user perspective how exactly we can give the best experience to the customer.
Right.
uh,
Right.
Again, on the other side, I mean, in every side actually, we really need to go and go deep and solve the problem. Now, the other perspective is some breakthrough technology which can really change the game, and we have built a lot of such cool tech in our platform. And just to give one example, and so we have we we have our AI engine which we call Clara. And with Clara, some of the cool things that we have done is helping the doctor assess, or helping the doctor to give a really great quality consultation with the patient. So when anyone starts the consultation, we ask a set of questions, and it's a very intelligent set of question that comes. It's a kind of a tree that comes, and with that, a summarized thing comes up for the doctor. It's like going to any hospital where a junior doctor takes asks some questions, creates a summary, and gives to the doctor.
Right.
Here, the engine itself gives out that summary to the doctor, and gives a possible diagnosis to the
Right.
doctor, which
Right.
then doctor can use. Uh, Similarly, the other thing that we figure out is the doctor prescribing the right set of medication? Is he doing over prescribing? Is he over prescribing any medicines? Or let's say if there are two medicines which might conflict with each other. So these
Mhm.
are really not possible to do in any other physical setup, given that these are, I mean, it's a tech platform where we have a lot of data, and we can do a lot of analysis in
Right.
real time. And these are
Mm.
really great tech problems to solve. And there are a lot of such problems that we are solving,
Right.
which are deep problem, and we are solving them.
Right, right. No, very fascinating, Rupesh. And as a user of Medibuddy myself, I can probably I have interacted with Clara. Now, when you talked about it, then I can kind of recall. Uh, and just to, I think it's so satisfying to be able to build a product that probably you are going to use yourself, your family is going to use, or your friends are going to use, or your neighbors are going to use. Uh,
Yes.
I maybe will narrate one incident that one day after workout in the morning I had like a sudden spasm in the back. Uh, Now in the older worlds, the way to go about it would have been that maybe I'll wait for a while and then I'll see if it is not subsiding. I'll try to go to a hospital, and then almost will have to take a day off. With the help of Medibuddy, I can maybe like immediately book a live appointment with a doctor. uh,
Yeah.
Within 5 to 10 minutes probably I can be on a video call with a doctor. Even before I'm speaking with the doctor, I think the what I interacted with might be powered by Clara in the back end, where in a very step by step fashion the system will ask me question as if a junior doctor is asking me question.
Right.
And
Right.
each response of mine, the further questions will keep getting customized, right, like how I'm responding to it. And it is actually sometimes
Exactly.
I might feel that it's working better than a human junior doctor, right? uh, the preciseness and the details that AI doctor may have, if I may say that, right? uh,
Yes.
so very very fascinating. And then another like delight moment for me was that I spoke with the doctor. He's prescribed me a bunch of things, and if I remember correctly, probably just on the app I had a button that just get the medicine, click on it, 60 minutes and the medicines are at my home, right? In the older worlds, probably it would have taken me more time to just step out of the home. And here, in that much time, I have spoken to the doctor, my diagnosis is done, the medicines are delivered at my home. So,
Absolutely.
kudos to, a system, I think, that has been built, such a high impact system. And I'm sure this is just the beginning, right? Like, there is so much more possibilities how technology can, fix the tech. I will maybe ask question to all the three tech leaders here. Do you think AI can ever replace doctors? It of course it's a very philosophical question, because it's impossible to know. But what are your thoughts, or can AI become a very good assistant to the doctor, right? If not the doctor, what are your thoughts about that? Or is maybe Medibuddy working, doing some advanced AI ML stuff in that direction?
Sure. Abhimanyu, that's actually a right question, right? When we, in fact, we work closely with doctors. The point you said is today, even at Medibuddy, at our current scale, we have done about like 5 million plus online consultation, right? That's a huge amount of data that we have, which no doctor in their lifetime can also go through and learn, right? So naturally, it becomes a huge repo of information which can assist any doctor. So we constantly say this, right? Engineers, we have the luxury of building on top of libraries that others in the past have built, and build even greater solutions, right? Which means you don't have to always start from scratch, right? We still today go to a Stack Overflow to pick up and fix any bug, or find an issue, or we search and ask around for libraries that we can build, so that the time it takes to get to a solution or a learning phase is much less, right? We don't have to start from compilers or hex code onwards, which how it
Right.
was used to be probably 50 years back. So that means a similar context is quite possible with the use of software, AI, data-led assistive tech that we can build for doctors, so that doctors can be more effective. And doctors, like any other humans, would also undergo fatigue. They work hard, long hours, and so therefore there's always a small chance of a human error here and there. There could be an important question missed, or there could be a new information in the new age world. There are newer diseases, newer especially during pandemic, the treatment patterns keeps changing, and as more information emerges, even in the medical research community. So whereas a technology can ensure it gets disseminated faster. So today, any change we make in code immediately becomes available to the tens of thousands of doctors who are using our platform. Thereby, the quality of medical care can be far more superior. And these are reality. I'm not talking about some futuristic thing that will happen or may happen, but these are happening right now at Medibuddy, and which is a natural progression, right? With the right use of that's we are able to do this is because in our data science team we have doctors who code as well, who understand data, who understand research, so that means there is a mutual empathy also on both sides, in terms of understanding what does a doctor go through, what does a doctor think when they are trying to diagnose a issue with a patient in front of them. So that way we all of the, in fact, all of the inputs come from doctors when we are building these AI systems, and not only engineers point of view of solving it, because that's not how healthcare can be solved using data science. I'm sure it's true for many other industries as well, right? It's important to collaborate with the subject matter experts to get the deep understanding, therefore building tools and solutions that uh, make life easier for the
Right.
subject matter experts at the end of the day. But at the same time, there is also a second element of care. So not all of care is the only science part of it, right? There is a lot of human connect that a doctor establishes, a trust that needs to get built. A doctor has to elicit the right information, right? Like we may go with one symptom, but the problems, there could be many other symptoms. Many times we face this, right? We tell the doctor what's the maybe current biggest problem, but when the doctor asks these questions, by the way, do you also have this, do you also have that, we also have this statement, right? Always tell truth to a doctor and a lawyer. So when a doctor elicits a lot of this, it comes out better than, let's say, if it's a form or a chatbot on which you are asking all of these questions. So there is an element of trust, the confidence, the comfort that the doctor would do give on a video call, or even a tone of their voice. All of this also adds to the element of the healthcare, or people getting better in their journey. It's not always only the science behind, or the chemistry or the pharmaceutical behind the medicine alone, right? And this also is proven more so in the fact that there's a lot more counseling involved in certain departments, more so than the medicine involved. And those aspects we again help understand, because of the, again, data can assist find these, right? Like why does a patient rate a doctor 5 star? Is it the medicine? Maybe another doctor gave the same prescription, same medicine, they probably got better, but why do they rate a particular doctor better than another particular doctor? Or another particular, or the same doctor maybe in a particular consultation got a 5 rating versus another consultation got a 3 rating, although the medicine is same, diagnosis is same. Those insights we were able to dive deeper, and share it back with the doctor community, so that they're aware, right? So many times building that so again, a lot of these insights come from data, right? None of us are doctors. And a new AI system would not understand all of this necessarily, but with the fact that we have large access to data, and we can build clustering, understanding, data science models, is not always about ML as well, right? Many times statistical analysis yields a lot of good results to understand why a certain behavior happens. Today we have like a checklist of 15 items. If a doctor does, it gives a great experience to a patient, and we are able to build that intelligence using a combination of data with the right inputs from our doctor community, both the ones that are in Medibuddy and those that are practicing outside, and also the experts out there. So that's the I think power of data and software and engineering working in coordination with doctors have been able to achieve already at Medibuddy. And and the future can be only better, and I leave it up to the imagination of everybody what more can be achieved, with more of what we're building here at Medibuddy.
Right. So thanks for such a detailed answer, Enba. And fundamentally, technology, even AI, ML, the cutting edge technologies to assist us, with a human face, to kind of improve things. And often, there is in the sci-fi, etc. There's this image people have that AI will take over, but probably that's not how it's gonna be. It's gonna be that technology actually assists us perform much better. And of course, there's a lot of human angles, human face to it, which is necessary, which absolutely is necessary. I will maybe next up, we heard very interesting things about the technology and the kind of products being built. I would maybe would love to hear from all three of you about the culture of the company, because we often like it's kind of Greek and Latin when often we say that the culture is great, but tell us a little more about when you hire as well, what kind of cultural values. I'm sure that you hire great engineers, and I think that's not really hard to know that what kind of skills you would want. Maybe at Scalar already we train people on that, but what kind of cultural elements that you see, and what are the cultural elements that you think particularly overall as a company as well, but also in the tech and product teams, uh, how would you kind of maybe in simpler words define the culture of Medipally?
Cool. I'll take that up, and please, Enva and Anurag, please feel free to jump in. So, one for the especially for the tech folks, and uh, the few fundamental things that we look for before we get someone on board is, number one is how curious that person is, and how so problem solving is one part, but the curiosity to learn, curiosity to know everything around their surrounding, everything around which is happening. And this is one basic trait that we look for, that people always should stay curious. And if that trait is there, I mean, that person will keep on learning new things, keep on, and that will really make them go deep into everything and then go and solve something. So that is one fundamental trait that we look for. Again, good problem solving. And then obviously this goes in line with the four cultural values, and maybe this is the time I can talk about that. So the four cultural values that all of us embody at Medibuddy. Number one is the end-to-end ownership, and this is something uh, very very important for all of us, that we take end-to-end ownership of everything. I mean, there is no scope of leaving things for someone else, or say that okay, this is not my boundary,
Yeah.
and you leave it. You take the ownership and make sure that it is done. So again, very extremely important, especially for a startup where, I mean, we want to move fast. So which brings it to the second point, which is the speed. We have to really move very very fast, and
Right.
that's what defines us. We have to do a lot of iterations and do things at speed,
Right.
and so that we stay ahead of the curve. uh, I think third one I already talked about, which is the customer obsession. uh, uh, and this again, i- when you, for any candidate, it becomes very very important that a person understands the customer, has a empathy for the customer, and wants to build something for the customer, wants to make that impact with the customer. And if that trait is there, I think that person is very valuable for us, and we are able to do that. And fourth, again equally important, is the execution excellence. Speed is important, but that cannot come at the cost of quality, or at the cost of finding some hacks or finding some shortcuts. It has to be really really excellent solution, good and basically deep solution, and
Right.
building that. So these are some of the things that we really look for in any candidate before we onboard them.
Right.
Enba and Rag, feel free to add.
Yeah, just one thing, Rupesh, if I may. The hiring philosophy at Medibuddy is like really simple. We always want to hire people who are smarter than us, and all the interviews that happen, right? I mean, we look for all those cultural values in each of the interviews, whether it's a tech interview or a leadership interview, right? And at all levels, even when we are interviewing for the roles of interns, Abhimanyu, and right, I mean, or be it from the quality point of view, or if it's a senior role, we look for all those values. And we always want to hire people who are smarter than us, so that when they join, we don't have to tell them what to do, because we have got plethora of problems to solve, like Anba alluded earlier, right? I mean, it might seem like we have solved a lot of problems, but we have scratched the surface only. I think we have a long way to go, and we are aiming really really high, which means we have got a lot of problems to solve. Now, for those problems, those really really critical problems to be solved, we need to have people who are who know how to get things done with all the cultural values that Rupesh talked about.
Right. 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 Thank you so much, Anurag, Rupesh. So coming to the next one, which is, like, of course, we are living in a very competitive world, right? Of course, there are so many great businesses doing things, and like, as a matter of fact, I think it's also true that there's a lot of noise out there in the ecosystem as well, right? So as an engineer, often it's a question that, like, of course, these are great people, great piece of technology, very high impact. But in your words, can you talk about why Medibuddy is a great opportunity for an engineer to probably prioritize, maybe even higher than the best MNCs out there? I believe in that, but maybe I would love to hear from you all that, why it is one of the greatest opportunities for an engineer to be part of.
Enba, you want to take that?
um, yeah, hi Abhimanyu. See, I think the virtues that we follow is, see, as engineers, right? When we were fresh out of college, what was exciting about being an engineer was ability to build things with your own hands, and that being used by somebody is a joy that is, I would say, that is no substitute, right? Like, and that gives the ultimate goal, I would say, for an engineer, right? It may be small, big, doesn't matter. So
Right.
what you worked hard trying to build overnight, if it is used by two people, and they find value in it, that's I mean, that used to give us the biggest joy, right? And that's what set us on this path to help solve larger and larger problems. And it definitely, every single piece of code written so far at Medibuddy, and what we continue to write, still makes a significant difference. There are one of two of us who have moved on from anybody also, today calls us, and when they reach us out, and many of them in fact join back as well. We going back to the time, saying that, hey, that piece of code that you wrote 3 years back, 4 years back, helped a lot more people today. And each of us are very proud about the fact that the efforts that we put in, So I mean, anybody can build software, right? Anybody can write a piece of code, but something which is very meaningful, that is something solving a fundamental problem, like in healthcare, it's a basic need, right? And it's a universal need. So it's not only for the rich or poor, or for somebody in an urban city or a rural city, and nobody is superhuman, right? Everybody needs healthcare access at some point or the other. So be it the young, right from the day somebody is born, probably till the day last day on earth, they health is a very, very important need. And then the healthy person and the healthy family makes for a very good society. And so that way there is a lot of the impact angle that somebody can make by using the core skill sets. It's not like have to do something else different. So we were even thinking, right, when you were in studying 10th standard, 12th standard, there's always this question: do you want to become a doctor or an engineer, right? Or so if we had become doctors, we would have probably helped 100 patients a day, 1,000 patients a day at best. But today, as engineers, we are still able to, help tens of thousands of patients a day. And with the power of technology, software, and doctors and the partners of hospitals and labs across the country that we are able to work with, we are very much on our way to help the billion plus people, in the country. And that's a primary thing anybody, I mean, which I would say is unique about Medibuddy and solving problems in healthcare. It's not about only coding, building cool tech, which is definitely there, like how Rupesh explained. There's a lot of interesting problems, algorithmic problems, and also there are simple things, right? Many times we may get fascinated by cool tech, but probably changing a simple button from to be make it more prominent or more understandable, or using the right icon makes adoption of the technology very, very easier in the remotest areas, right? We also believe in building simple tech, right? Maybe the underlying assets can be challenging problems, engineering problems, but for the end user experience, for me, it's a single transaction, right? So the algorithm, AI, and all is behind the scenes for most of the time. But for the user to understand, oh, this is the doctor. When we started, and our earliest product used to be called DocsApp, because we were very inspired by WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp is the one software everybody would install as soon as somebody buys a phone, right? And even if they don't understand language, my grandmother or even my mom was a late adopter to all mobile tech, but the only app she uses today also is like WhatsApp consistently, right? They understand DP, they understand double ticks, blue ticks, and that's when they realize, oh, the person on the other side is the person whose photo appears on the top left. It may seem very trivial today in the digital world that we are living in, but that's not necessarily still true for the billion plus population, right? These can be small things that you don't have to teach people new UXs, user experiences. If they're in a familiar space, they feel comfortable. Maybe early on when we build cool tech, the young people, folks, early adopters will like it and easily adopt it. But if you want to create a large impact for a billion people, we need to think about the building for the grandmother, building for can a newborn understand, or a 1 year old, 2 year old are also using apps now. So without language English, still will they be able to understand what it is very important. And also in India being multiple languages, so how do you make user interfaces which are simple and not very text heavy, then it becomes a challenge in terms of just translating. And many times you have seen, right, translations don't really make sense. And in medical space, translations don't exist many of the times, right? For the healthcare keywords, many times it's proxy words people use, which is very unique to each languages. So these are also interesting problems where we work with user experience designers, or product managers, or even customer support executives who speak to these customers day in day out, would also give insights into what we can build great things, which is again what makes Medibuddy very unique, right? So we unlike most places, like our operations team, customer support team, and our engineering team are all in and around the same floor, so which enables us great access, right? Like we always value somebody talking to a doctor, or somebody talking to a patient or a user every day will have a lot of insights, inputs about how where the problem space is, what people are struggling with. So you'll get more, I would say, more well-rounded experience for anyone who spends time at Medibuddy. I'm not sure if it answered your question. Maybe Rupesh or another can add points.
Sure,
Yeah,
just to add. So, sorry,
Rupesh,
Anush, go ahead.
I'll
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, right? So,
Yes.
so one of the things that I learned during my days at Harvard was, how do you figure out how intelligent a person is, right? So the intelligence of a person is the average of the intelligences of 5 to 7 people he or she works with, actually he spends most time with. And whoever joins Medibuddy, they will get that. We have got some of really smartest of the minds of the industry working with us. Enba himself is IIT Chennai Madras alumni, and most of the folks that are in the tech and the product team are really smart folks. So that's another thing that somebody will get whoever joins Medibuddy. Rupesh, go ahead, please.
Right. And just to add to what Enba and Rag said, uh, we are at the right juncture at this point of time. We are disrupting the healthcare and we are growing exponentially. So I mean, today we are doing much more than the largest physical hospital chain in the country,
Wow.
and we are just going to grow exponentially from here. So the kind of impact that we are already making is huge. We started
Right.
with a vision of helping making quality healthcare accessible to 1.4 billion Indians.
Right.
So it's a greater purpose towards which we are working. That was one of the purpose which brought me here to join Medibuddy, and I think it is a really great place for any engineer to make that impact and bring that tech, or build that platform which can really solve a problem for the masses, make the
Right.
healthcare accessible to them. One thing that we talked about, I mean, doctors prefer to stay in metro cities. I mean, good quality doctors are not there in tier 2, tier 3 towns or the villages. uh,
Correct.
and therefore the good quality healthcare is not accessible. Through healthcare, we are making this accessible to them, and they can really sorry, there
Yeah,
was a discussion at my end.
we can hear you, Rupesh.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so it's a great, cool tech that we are building, great people all around, and a greater purpose. So I think this is and we are at the right juncture where we are very well positioned to grow exponentially from here. So while you do all of that, as along with this, you also, along with the organization, you also get an opportunity to grow with the organization. So learn, grow. So overall it becomes a really great opportunity for everyone to join hands.
Thank you so much, all three of you. Keeping a quick time check, given we have just 10 minutes left, I wanted to cover two more things. One, of course, while there are quite a few job opportunities in tech and product at Medibuddy, I'm sure they all will be listed on the career website. But maybe if you guys can talk about, what are some of the roles where you are hiring most aggressively. And before we conclude, I probably have one more question to ask before that. But let's first cover what all positions you are hiring for.
So, so Emmanuel, we are hiring across all the roles. So we are actually scaling up the tech team. As the organization grows, we are scaling up the entire team, which means that we have openings across all the roles, whether it is the back end, whether it is the front end, whether it is the app team, mobile app, Android and iOS, whether it is the DevOps infra, whether it is security, whether it is quality and automation, so, and or whether it is the data science team, so or the analytics team. So across all the teams we have a lot of openings. As Enba was saying, we are around 160 people across product and engineering. In engineering we are at around 110 people, and we are going to become 250 in by end of this year. So it's a lot of people that we have to get on board,
Yes.
and which means that it we have we are really looking for smart folks across all the areas.
Right, right. Amazing. So maybe with that, those of you who are part of Scalar, just reach out to your career partner you might be in touch with. There are plenty of opportunities. I'm sure you realize that how amazing a place it can be as your next workplace to kind of create massive impact and also learn and grow as an individual a lot. So if you are not part of Scaler, please check out Medibuddy Careers website. And you will see all the positions. Do apply to them. Before we close the session for the today, I think given all three of you have had very successful, high impact career in tech. From each three of you, if I may ask, what would you advise to yourself when you were probably just starting your career, when you have maybe few years of experience in your career? What would be your advice to yourself at that time? I think that might be very useful for the people who might be kind of going through that phase right now. Rupesh, maybe let's start with you.
All right. So for me, I think it wouldn't be any different from what I did. Basically, focus on I mean, focus on going deep, solving customer problem, and focus on making large impact. And money is not something that you should focus on in early part of your career or at any point of career. Money is something that is secondary, that gets taken care. So build your foundation really strong, and that is what is important. Build your foundation. It's a start of your career, and then on top of that you can really construct a large mansion, large building, but it has to be, the foundation really needs to be strong. And that's what I would suggest anyone who is starting the career.
Right.
And I see quite a lot of youngsters who uh, who try to get I mean jump ships every year or every 2 year.
Right.
I mean that doesn't help in building that foundation really strong. I think spend good time, build a really solid foundation,
Right.
and learn, grow. Always stay curious
Right.
and always go deep.
Right, right. To add to that, Rupesh, given our entire audience is technical, I think I might put it in this way that career has to be solved using the dynamic programming approach rather than greedy approach. That you have to think long term. You have to build on top of things that you are doing right now. You cannot just make short term decisions and hope that it will lead to
Yes.
the most
Yes,
optimal.
always think long term. Absolutely, Skabimanyu. Very well, very nice analogy that you have put in there.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe Anurag, you.
And
Uh, 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 One thing I would advise or recommend is spend time with folks who are smarter than you.
Right,
Have a discussion with them.
right,
Talk about solving the problems. When
right,
you have a discussion with people who are smarter than you are, you automatically becomes starts becoming more and more intelligent. Actually,
right,
it's just one why. Just spend time with them. You will
right.
realize
Just
that
find the time.
within days, you will realize that. And essentially, we all have been saying, my grandfather, great grandfather, and all of us as forefathers have been saying, a man is known by the company he or she
Right,
keeps, right? I mean, and that's really true. So and we promised that
right.
at Medibuddy. So that's what my advice would be, Manju.
I think we become what the environment is. Environment that we are surrounded by shapes us. So I think it's very important to be in the right environment. Maybe Anba, we will close with your advice.
Yes, Abhimanyu. No, I would say stay humble, stay hungry. And that's very, being curious is what makes engineers, I would say, awesome. And all of the great things in the world have been, built by engineers working towards solving problems for the people. And so keep that in mind, and that should take everyone a long way.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this, very insightful, and I think very candid session, all of you, the entire tech leadership team of Medibuddy. It's our privilege to be hosting all of you here on this session. And I'm sure that, already Medibuddy is, I think, one of the strongest tech and product team I closely know. So I can say that, one of the strongest tech and product team in the country. And I'm sure that, a lot many more great minds will be joining hands to on this mission to fix the medical systems of India overall. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope all the audiences enjoyed this discussion as well. All the best for your hiring, and all the best to all the people who would be applying to Medibuddy to great success. Amazing.
Thank you, Manu. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being a great host.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Abhimanyu.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
Abhimanyu, and thanks, Kela
Thank
team.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.